Howdy, y'all. Welcome out there to all you horror homies. I am DBZALLSTAR, also known as Steve. Welcome back to another entry in the Horror Homies 2025 video series I've been constructing. So, for this video, I wanted to talk about a long-running horror franchise in Final Destination, which began in 2000 and had its sixth and most recent film released just this year in 2025, known as Final Destination Bloodlines. It's a franchise that had been missing, we'll say, for the better part of a decade. And I'm so grateful it's back. It's a franchise that teaches you that you can hide from death, but eventually it may come to find you. However, in this franchise, it's not so much about the hiding as it is messing with death's design, something that Tony Todd's character Bloodworth warns the protagonist in several films about not doing. If you mess with death's design, death will find a way to correct that balance and track you down to bring about your most likely violent end, because you don't want to screw with death. It all starts with 2000's Final Destination, the first one, with Devon Sawa in the main role, finding that he has been gifted or cursed with visions, which lead him to believe that Flight 180 is going to explode shortly after takeoff on its way to Paris. His exclamation on the plane ends up getting him and several others kicked off. The plane does indeed explode, killing many of his classmates and teachers, unfortunately. Over time, as it passes, the survivors that he saved end up meeting with very violent ends. So his character, Alex, works to prevent the deaths from continuing. Ali Larter's Clear Rivers is also a part of that first film, and she features somewhat in the next film, Final Destination 2, a film that taught us to be very cautious when on the highway or the road coming up behind any log trucks. It's something that's created a lot of trauma but taught valuable lessons through a pretty gruesome sequence. Once again, death's design is interfered with by our lead character, and death starts taking its vengeance to correct its design. From there, we had three more sequels: Final Destination 3, The Final Destination, and Final Destination 5, until the franchise was in limbo until 2025's Final Destination Bloodlines. 3 deals with a premonition dealing with a roller coaster accident. 4 deals with a race car stadium disaster, and 5 deals with the collapse of a bridge, something that unfortunately has happened several times in recent history here in the United States and is a pretty realistic tragedy to depict. However, that film, Final Destination 5, was released in the early 2010s, so there was no reference to recent events. Bloodlines works to renew interest in the franchise as well as pay tribute to previous entries. 1 and 2 pretty much work hand in hand. 5 has a very interesting tie-in to the very first film, and Bloodlines brings everything full circle. So if the franchise were to end with Bloodlines, it would be fine. If not, then there is definitely set up for future entries, whether it's filling in the gap between 5 and 6/Bloodlines, or it's building from where we left off with Bloodlines. This is the 6-film collection for the Final Destination films. Bloodlines was also available separately. All of the films are available separately on Blu-ray, 6 slash Bloodlines was released in 4K, and there's a 4K Steelbook. However, not owning any of the films on Blu-ray, I decided to opt in for a reasonable price of $30 for the 6-film collection, as each of these films, I'll just open it now if I can. There we go. Each of these films does include its own set of special features. So opening this here, we have discs for each of the films too. Oh, not exactly secure there. So there's Final Destination, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3. The Final Destination is what fell out. Let's see if it'll hop back in there. Yep, it will. Final Destination 5 and Final Destination Bloodlines. This also includes digital codes for each of the films. So if you don't really care about owning it on 4K or owning the Steelbook edition, then this is a great way to own these films. Even if Warner Home Video didn't put the best quality control, as you can see I have a piece of the case, into the production. It's about the value, the most bang for your buck, and not necessarily overall quality of product. But I will say that you are getting some heavy horror quality in each of these films, even though I believe the Final Destination is my least favorite out of the franchise. From top to bottom, I would say it would be Final Destination, then Final Destination Bloodlines, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 5, Final Destination 3, and the Final Destination for top to bottom what I enjoy with this particular franchise. Would I love to see more? Yeah, I'd love to see more. The writers and directors put a lot of love into this new film, Bloodlines, and if they bring back the same team and put forth the same amount of love and effort into it, even though they said it could be one and done for them, I'd be all about it. If you can keep something fresh and exciting, I'm all about it continuing. As a comic book collector, that's kind of how I feel about those as well. But at the end of the day, don't mess with Death's plan. Stay healthy, stay safe, like, subscribe, comment, hit that bell for notifications, if you please, for more Horror Homies content. Again, don't mess with Death's plan. And overall, be well.